the best of the rest of the news. Another day, another company leaving the American Legislative Exchange Council, or ALEC. This time it's AOL, which announced on Monday that it would not renew its membership in that conservative lobbying group. AOL's announcement comes in the wake of a flurry of high-profile defections from ALEC earlier this fall. In a two-week span in September, Google, Yahoo, and Yelp all said they would quit ALEC in light of its positions on climate change. So with all these companies quitting ALEC, is this the end of the group? Or is it deep-pocketed and influential and powerful enough to survive whatever is thrown its way? With me now for more on this is Jane Carter, labor economist with the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFSCME. Jane, welcome back.
Thanks so much for having me.
It's great to have you with us. So before we get into the weeds on this, just for anybody who might have just been tuning in, what is ALEC?
ALEC's been around for 40 years. It's the American Legislative Exchange Council. It's kind of the brainchild of John Kasich, of Paul Weyrich, to put model legislation in every state house. So you have model legislation on right to work. It was one of the first model bills.
Right to work for less.
Right to work for less. Complete and total deregulation of our environment, as you just discussed on your last segment. Complete and total decimation of the ACA, and a corporate entity, it's like a build mill, and they come up with legislation that corporations pay to be members of. Corporations pay $10,000 to $25,000 to be a member, and state legislators become members at the cheap price of $100 for 2 years.
And it's true that they set a legislator and a lobbyist, in the room, and then they have votes, and 51% wins, so a lobbyist plus a couple of legislators, and they've got it.
Well, it's a little bit more, I think there's a little bit more detail to that. So you have task force from ALEC. You have 9 task force, and they're based, you have different segments, very similar to what you see at your state legislative level. You have the Economic and Tax Committee, you have an Environmental Committee, you have a Social Justice Committee, or you used to. And so once those bills get discussed in those task forces, they go to the board of ALEC, and that includes legislators as elected officials as well as private sector members. They call it the Private Enterprise Council.
Right. Is ALEC in any danger? I mean, they're Yelp, Yahoo, these are not inconsequential companies.
Right. I mean, these are large tech companies that are leaving ALEC in droves. Interesting enough, one of the biggest tech companies to leave that has gotten little kind of under the radar is SAP, and SAP was the chair of the Private Enterprise Council for ALEC, and just left, citing not just the attacks and the denial of climate change, but also because of the issue of stand your ground and the voting bills that ALEC has pushed.
Right. ALEC they've said that they deny climate change. What's the reality here?
Well, I think that in Dallas, the Center for Media and Democracy, which does great work on exposing ALEC and the bills and the legislators who attend and the funding, released documents showing that there was actually a whole training on climate denial in Dallas. And so,
as in how to do it?
So kind of what's being discussed, and how to refute some of the ideas that are coming out there. So these companies that are members of ALEC sit through these different meetings and pay to be at that table to have that discussion. And
then they take that information and they pass it along to their spokespeople or their legislators. Right. Remarkable. And also I understand that ALEC is starting initiatives beyond just state legislatures in cities and counties and things like that, and that there's also another new group, probably funded by the same people, that's doing specifically that.
Right. So ALEC kind of went on this whole new tangent, a whole new level at its meeting in Dallas this past summer in August, launching the American City-County Exchange, which is going to focus on city, county, village, and school board elected officials, taking these ALEC model bills and putting them on a local level. So you've got, 7,000 elected officials in state government. There's 10 times that on your local level. So taking, for instance, one of the only model bills to come out of the ACE meeting was an infrastructure bill replacing pipes in our cities and counties with PVC pipe. So it's interesting to see kind of the turn going to a local level, where if they couldn't get a bill through at a state level, perhaps they could do it locally. Another example would be Fort Wayne, Indiana passed right to work on their local level and decimated collective bargaining for police, fire, and non-uniformed employees recently.
Yikes.
As well.
What about things like, Chattanooga has done community broadband, and now it's the fastest internet city in the country because the city did it. On the other hand, I understand there are 19 states now that have passed laws forbidding their cities from doing that.
Well,
is this the kind of thing that ALEC is all about?
So I'm sure I've not said in the ACE meetings, but I think that after 40 years of what ALEC has done to our country and to our state legislators with voter ID, with right to work, with denial of climate change, and pushing these types of bills, I can only imagine once they have the platform to do it in our cities and counties that it would probably be just as invasive as it already is on a state level.
In the half minute or so we have left, what's the best way for us to push back against ALEC?
Again, I would highly recommend your viewers to go to Stand Up to ALEC on Facebook and to check out the great information that Center for Media and Democracy has.
ALECexposed.org?
Yes. And Center for Media and Democracy as well.
Right, and presumably there's something over at AFSCME.
Right. Yes, there is. And I would also encourage, if we have just a second, I would highly encourage your viewers to go to check out the state policy network that's in their state, because on top of ALEC, you have a very invasive think tanks in your state that are pushing these policies as well.
Jane, it's great
Thanks.
to see you.
Thanks so much, Tom.
for dropping by
Appreciate
today.
it. Thanks.